Building AI, that self has a cost, but operationalizing AI and maintaining AI has its own unique cost.
What matters is what happens when the rubber hits the road, when the thing you're building meets users in the wild.
Windsurf will have written the code, and then I put it up on GitHub, and then Windsurf comments on it. And I'm like, couldn't you just told yourself this earlier?
I'm seeing a world where as we have more and more AI code generation, we're going to have more and more care reviewing.
The reality is, we need to kind of stumble around and explore the solution space.
If you don't know how to do this and it's fundamentally hard, that's great. I bet on our team. If we can crack it, I think many others will give up along the way.
It's an idea-first world now. We have a preamble in our longest engineering interview, which is, make it work, make it fast, make it good. Show us something uniquely that you would do to make this great. That's what we want to see. We want to see greatness.
The most important signal of all when it comes to the code you're writing and what you're building and everything is what's happening in production. What matters is what happens when the rubber hits the road, when the thing you're building meets users in the wild, right? Nothing else really matters. Everything else is speculation.
It's kind of funny. We use Windsurf to generate our code, and then we also use Windsurf to do our code reviews. Windsurf will have written the code, and then I put it up on GitHub, and then Windsurf comments on it. And I'm like, couldn't you just told yourself this earlier?
How are engineers in your company reacting to that?
Everyone's required to use AI at Merge. So we had our mini Shopify letter moment. It was just like, look, it's an expectation that you're going to use AI, and it's not just for Merge. This is for your own career and your future. We all know where the world is going. So not just in engineering, but across the org, there's a mandate for everyone to be using AI tools.
If you're going to have a successful customer experience function, you're going to need to really focus on automations. In the olden days, even a few years ago, it would be you had to wait for your customer to tell you that something was wrong or that they were going to churn. Versus now, using artificial intelligence, we can do sentiment analysis a lot better on things like support tickets and NPS surveys and things like that. Gone are the days where we're just hiring CSMs left and right. What we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years is companies really doubling down on not just their pre-sale marketing automation, but then their post-sale customer experience automation.
Almost nobody's like Steve Jobs, where you can sort of conceive of a new product due to the power of your mind and your intuition, and then fully formed, deliver it to your product team to go execute. Very few people are like that. Maybe a lot of people think they are, but the reality is, we need to kind of stumble around and explore the solution space through just experimentation. Before AI came along, it was quite difficult to do that. But now you can build a almost sort of professional looking, proof of concept in a matter of hours.
The way that we talk about it internally, it's difficulty and suffering is a moat. If you don't know how to do this and it's fundamentally hard, that's great. I bet on our team. I think they're really smart. And as a result, if we can crack it, I think many others will give up along the way. It is just fundamentally a hard problem. If you had to get a human to diagnose and investigate and help you resolve incidents at many thousands of companies across many different technology stacks, that's not something that any human has ever done before. We're building agents to go and debug and diagnose and investigate problems. Great, but how do you know if they're any good? And you can do that with a set of design partners of 5 to 10, 20 people, but you're fundamentally going to be quite constrained by your ability to experiment and improve. And, as we release these things, and obviously as our customers sort of start to adopt them, we will then be in the stage where as we improve the system, we are doing that over many, many thousands of customers across many, many different industries, many, many different technology stacks.
As a software engineer, you're going to have to become more of a code reviewer and QA type person, meaning the agent is going to write code for you. And it's only going to be 80% correct, but you don't know which 20% is wrong. I'm seeing a world where as we have more and more AI code generation, we're going to have more and more care reviewing. Otherwise, we won't have any engineers with the experience of the code reviewing, because the way you get the code reviewing experience is by having written a lot of code. If I could wave my magic wand, you instantly have perfect test automation, unit test, integration test, end-to-end test, and it was perfect. Well, then all of a sudden I've taken out a huge amount of risk of changing a large complex system. And so while there's promise in AI code gen helping people code faster, I actually think from a team perspective, I see more hope in going faster by reducing the risk of making problems than by just having it write the code.
When you think 5 years out, how different do you think Twilio's product will look like? because of AI? Tell me more. Tell me everything.
Yeah, I think we're going there. I think it's going to look massively different. Building AI that self has a cost, but operationalizing AI and maintaining AI has its own unique cost that goes beyond the normal expectations of software engineering in general. At scale, something with a 99% efficacy, when you do that over 1 billion events, is wrong a lot of the time, right? And so you end up chasing that 10th, that 100th of a percentile.
So this was my winter break passion project where I'm like, okay, Cursor has this new cool thing. Let me do some vibe coding and get a feel for what it's like. One of the problems which I had been curious about is we'd had a bunch of incidents in the last quarter. I kind of wanted to see if there were any themes. And so I'm like, ooh, I have this side project. Normally, I would ask an engineer to go run an analysis and come back and present it to me. But I just used, Cursor, wrote my own TypeScript program to fetch things from incident.io, call Google Docs to fetch postmortems, then run them through LLMs to generate insights and tweak things. And I was able to generate my own version of report for what was going on. And I thought that was pretty cool that I could do it myself without having to depend on someone.
I think that's what digital transformation is going to mean for engineering teams over the coming year, is make it more easily vibe codable. It's an idea first world now. The AI has gotten to the point where it can oftentimes generate better code than you might have generated, by hand, and much more quickly. So code gen probably is the biggest choice here. We have a preamble in our longest engineering interview, which is, make it work, make it fast, make it good kind of vibes, which is show us something uniquely that you would do to make this great. That's what we want to see. We want to see greatness.
How different do you think the Vercel product will be in 5 years, given everything happening in AI?
Oh, 5, right? It's AI on the end of the spectrum. As your visual indicates, it will change what people's expectation of products on their devices can do and look like and feel like, and what human-computer interaction will be.
Will websites in 5 years be the same? Websites of 5 years ago were different from websites of today, and websites of 10 years ago were different from websites of 5 years ago. Today, the internet, your website, is part of a $100 billion economy of search, because in search, you find the website. But there is no economy for AI right now. Let's say, it's your own multi-billion-dollar company called Dani, and you have your marketing budget, and you're spending $50 million on branding and search, another $50 million on social, and you want to spend $50 million on AI that will drive your business. There's no way to do that. So probably 5 years from now, there's going to be such a way. I have no idea what it's going to be like, but it's going to have some impact on what we're doing.
We are in a revolution. It's not going to replace engineers, but it's definitely going to evolve engineers into a newer version of themselves. One of my engineers, they wanted to start using Iceberg on top of S3. In the past, it would have taken them, I think, between 2 to 4 weeks. It was done in 2 days. I have this guy who works on deal prediction, predictive analysis. He told me, Ohad, if you take away Claude from me, I'm leaving Gong. So it's not optional. Just having these agents based on the data in the right place, addressing real issues, saving time. This is what Gong does. That's why I'm really passionate about Gong, not only because I belong to Gong, because I can see the disruption and revolution that Gong is leading.
Which part of the dev cycle is AI most helpful for?
Honestly, it's kind of here. Most prominently, the way we use AI would be while coding. So we use Cursor. Especially writing front end is much, much easier than it would have been without it. And so this allows for a lot of engineers on my team to be full stack engineers and write things end to end. You're looking for someone who is very good at problem solving. And that has always been the goal through any of the interview process. We do expect people to use AI to write code. We have certain interview questions where we just tell the candidate that you can use whatever you want. There are tools that non-engineering teams are using for answering their own questions. And there's no shortage of questions from customers. And so they're able to use AI to self-serve themselves and get a lot of answers. I think it reduces the volume of the questions tremendously.
Wow, what a way to speed up engineering velocity. It's clear that if an engineer is not getting bothered a few times a day, they're just going to do a lot more.
I think what really has helped us is just the abstract framework and ability to run these tests and experiments at scale. Coupling that with having a strong position on what you care about, and then an ability to try things and test them and like statistically significantly make a decision on better or worse. And that's a superpower. We've been building AI products at Intercom for like 5, 6, 7 years, maybe even longer. So like the best in the last generation was like worse than the average with Finn. So anyway, the big advances in large language models, there was like a step change that like, you know, we saw what changed and we're like, this really makes a whole class of things possible. So we're really excited.
So every single time an engineer on your team submits a pull request, you have automated code review running from 3 different models, 2 large language models and 1 small language model?
Exactly. So it enabled us to start contacting customers preemptively to say that, hey, maybe you need to think a bit of your usage patterns because otherwise there might be some troubles.
Wait, so you basically have AI-enabled SREs at Pipedrive.
Yes.
Like an AI is ingesting all of your like Datadog logs, for example, and proactively trying to find places where errors are starting to bubble up.
The way, again, like how all this internal tooling is happening, that we see a challenge, we see a problem, we build it, and then if engineers start using it and then start asking more, we make it better. If nobody is using, then we just throw it away and then we experiment with something else.